Substitute teachers, supply teachers. Ian Childerhose is a substitute teacher for the English Montreal School Board. That's the largest public school board for the English language in the province of Quebec, and he's in Montreal. And Ian, welcome to our program. We're happy to meet you.
Cool. Thank you for having me, Heather.
How has it gone so far for you?
So far, I would say that it has gone well. I've been in a school for the past 2 days, and after this interview, I'll be returning to that school. But it definitely has been a big adjustment.
Okay. What's been the biggest change? What's been the biggest adjustment?
I mean, I think the fact that in Quebec, the students are staying in their classroom for the entire day. Usually it's the students who are circulating, but now it's the teachers as one of the primary preventative measures that Quebec has put in place.
So what does that mean for you? If you're called in to be a supply teacher, what will your day then look like?
It looks like a lot of moving from classroom to classroom, and meeting a new group of students, teaching them for the period, and then figuring out where you need to go to meet your next class.
Now that's interesting, moving classroom to classroom. What about moving school to school? How much of that will you be doing?
So that is uncertain, but by the nature of substitute teaching, a lot of substitute teachers do work at many schools, definitely during the course of the year, but it's not uncommon for substitute teachers to work at even, multiple 2-3 schools during the course of a given week.
So that may be tradition, but of course now here we are in the pandemic. And what kinds of concerns does that moving around raise for you, Ian?
I mean, I think it raises what would be one of my biggest fears, which would be unknowingly contracting the virus at one school and then working at another and being, the person who potentially introduces it to another new environment and school. And I know that talking to some of my other colleagues who are substitute teachers, this is a concern that a lot of us share.
Is the board or is the province giving you any specific measures or information or guidelines or anything to keep substitute teachers in particular safe? I mean, they've seen this whole issue play out as far as long-term care and workers moving from home to home to home. It's similar in some respects, one would say. So are you getting any concrete guidelines or help?
Unfortunately, no. As a substitute teacher, I haven't gotten any concrete guidelines from the ministry, from the provincial government. We're just expected to follow the same guidelines as full-time teachers are. But like you said, in the long-term care facilities here, it was the staff who worked at multiple locations who ended up bringing it from one long-term care home to the next. And while, it's a different population that we're working with, it's still that concern of moving locations that genuinely, it makes me nervous. It makes me a little bit scared.
And how do you feel that you don't have any sort of concrete plan from anyone at this point and the school year's already underway?
Again, I would say nervous. I feel pretty good about the measures that I've seen in the school, and I'm very proud to say that the school I've been working at, people do tend to be taking it very, very seriously, staff and students alike. But nonetheless, this is an unprecedented situation for all of us. And for the past 6 months, I've been taking this very seriously, changed my lifestyle significantly, only going grocery shopping when necessary. So to then be in this situation where I'm not only back to work, but could be moving schools as soon as next week, there is concern just about what problems that method could bring.
Yes, and understandably so. What's your expectation for this year, Ian, in terms of how busy you'll be? There's been a lot of talk about maybe not having enough teachers in these more and smaller classes, and therefore there'll be a real need. What do you think the demand is going to be for people like you?
I mean, I think demand is going to be high already. I'm going to be working this entire week, which working as a substitute in September is somewhat uncommon. Usually teachers want to be in the classroom to start off their year, make sure that, their students know the routine, they know their teacher, they feel secure in the classroom, they know the expectations of the course that they'll be taking. So the fact that many substitute teachers are already working, almost full time or many days a week for the first week of school. It's a big change. I've heard about a lot of positions that are left unfilled. So I think for substitute teachers, this is going to be a busy year because there are definitely lots of positions, many of which, are teachers who have taken time off because of their fears and their pre-existing health conditions relating to coronavirus, trying to protect themselves and their loved ones.
We're hearing a lot about that. Teachers choosing leaves of absence or even retiring early so as not to have to face this. So as I let you go, you mentioned that you've been living pretty strictly within the pandemic situation, getting groceries, you said, just weekly. What are you going to be doing now, Ian, in your own life, given your new exposure and what's going to happen now that you're back at work? What are you going to be doing yourself to keep yourself safe?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be limiting my bubble. I didn't let it grow too much over the summer, but it was easier to see friends outside at a safe distance and, with fresh air, so we could mitigate risk there. But I think now I'm going to have to, even reconsider kind of seeing friends as frequently and, realizing that especially as the option to see people outside goes away as the cold weather arrives, that I'll, have to turn back to more virtual hangouts with friends and family just to make sure for the time being that everybody feels safe and that I'm acting as responsibly as possible.
Really appreciate hearing your story, Ian, and the things that you're contending with. It sounds like it's going to be a good year from a work perspective and you'll be busy, but obviously new realities to contend with. We'll be back in touch to find out how it's going as your school year continues in Montreal. Thanks for the time this morning, Ian.
Well, thanks for talking to me, Heather.